So let's start with the current mandatory minimum penalties for drug offenses. What do they look like right now?
So they vary. Like for the minimum penalties, in certain circumstances, it depends on the quantity, the amount, I guess, of drugs and the circumstances around it. So if a substance is involved with, a scheduling of another common substance as well. And then the other thing would be whether or not the prosecution treats the offense as indictable, more serious, or if it prosecutes by way of summary offense, which is actually less serious. And if trafficking is involved, there's numerous reasons why. I mean, it's good for people who use drugs. I think it's egregious, my personal self, for to have to face maybe up to life in prison, even for having a Schedule I substance for the first time. And that would be the mandatory, or the mandatory highest, I guess they would put in. But the minimums have not done anything to reduce people from using drugs, and they have systemically over incarcerated disproportionately Black people and Indigenous people in our country, and that to me is a disgrace. And so the further we can move drug policy forward, so that it recognizes all people of color as the same and treats them, within a court of law the same, would be a great world. But in the best world, they wouldn't be criminalized for these at all. We would figure out a system that meets the world that we live in today. Because the fact is we're not going to have a drug-free world. We have drugs. It's just that people have used drugs since the beginning of time, and it's going to continue to.
All right, Ms. Touesnard, what is your organization, CAPUD, expecting from this bill in particular?
Well, I mean, we're hoping that they will drop them and let the judge have the discretionary, to look at the circumstances, because some of them are high even for a first-time offender, depending on what's involved, who's around you, if it's children are nearby. But I mean, I think this just goes back to bad drug policy to begin with. Like we really have no control over the illegal market, and so these things happen in secret, and we allow criminalized organizations to take over and actually sell drugs and to produce them and give them to people. And so I think that's more of the issue, is the law that's around it. I think we create regulated markets that could fit people, make sure youth don't use drugs, not advertise, and do it in a respectful way so that people that do use drugs have access to safe drugs that aren't going to kill them. So I guess this is a nice thing. Do I know how well it's going to work? No, we'll see when it happens. I think it's a good gesture on the Department of Justice to go forward with that. But we know there's a lot of cities coming forward with decriminalization, and is this the farthest that they actually want to go? Is the other question.
All right, ma'am, just about a minute left here, but let's dig into the bill in particular. What types of conditional sentences would this bill allow for, specifically for those who don't pose a threat to public safety?
Well, and to be honest with you, as I said earlier, I hadn't really read through the whole document, and so I mean, to be honest with you, I would be lying if I knew. But I would think that it would give them the discretion to be able to make a decision on one's race, ethnicity, circumstances, poverty, recognizing that, when we talk about this being a war on drugs, it's never has been. It's always been a war on people that use drugs. And so therefore, our jails, as I said earlier, are filled with Black and Indigenous people and predominantly poor people, with the fastest growing population of Black women being in prison. And so I would hope that these people, or not just these people, all people, that if mandatory minimum penalties would drop, would make a difference in their life. But I mean, then it still leaves it up to one judge's discretion.
Mm-hmm. All right, Ms. Touesnard, thank you again for joining us today on Forum Daily.
All righty, thanks for having me.
Stay tuned. More news from around the world coming up after the break. We'll be right back.